Hi, this is Heather Kenny, and this is my vlog assignment for week 4 of Communication Fluency, which we are going to take another look, a deeper look at the article I chose, Neither Gold Nor Braided Hair by Alicia J. Batten, which appeared in New Testament Studies in 2009. So I'm going to scroll down so we can go to the introduction, past the introduction, which we already discussed, and straight into the nitty gritty. So Batten starts explaining the concepts of wealth, honor, and gender in the context of the Greco-Roman world, pointing out the expression of wealth was highly proscribed by the community. It didn't have a great reputation, so the rich had to work carefully to offset that belief. These societies also did not have a lot of privacy, so consequently public identity and appearance had outsized importance. And people constantly, especially men, had to constantly be aware of potential attacks on their honor when they appeared out in public, which must have made it very anxiety provoking. So women didn't play much of a role in public life. But that meant that their actions around honor um, happened in the private sphere. She often accomplished this through her hair, accessories, and jewelry, the tools that were available to her. A wife with style reflected well on her husband and her family, gave them honor, but it was a very careful balancing act that required her to have a lot of discretion and personal and social awareness. If she overdid it, for example, if she made her hair too fancy or wore jewelry that was too gaudy, she could be accused of vice, and then her family's honor would be under suspicion. Jewelry was an economic resource for women, kind of portable wealth, and it gave women power, which was something to be feared. Again, it was a balancing act. It could be used to enhance her honor, but it was a double-edged sword because if she had too much power, it reflected badly on her husband, making him appear weak, lessening his honor. The more power a woman had, the less power a man was perceived to have. And this leads into the idea of women's body as the site of social definition, as Batten uses this block quote from an article by Maria Weick. The idea is that how women look is more important and says more about them than how the way that men look says about them. So they're caught in a cruel paradox. It was necessary for women to look good and appear in the correct way, but it also allowed men to look down on them. And this is something that I think that we still have today, where standards of women's appearances are very high, but at the same time, we're kind of looked down on for placing so much importance on a frivolous topic. So having set up the context of the Greco-Roman world, we get into the implications of these Bible verses, which I'm going to show briefly. Here's the one from Timothy. And here's the one from Peter. So Batten makes the point that these verses could be understood as instructions for survival in an environment that was hostile to early Christians. Prescriptions about how women should look allowed them to blend in and not attract negative attention. Um, Batten notices that there are further comments in Timothy about avoiding ostentation's display of wealth and the need to pay attention to public opinion, something that would have been very important for early Christians. And then I thought that this was sort of an interesting example of the rhetorical technique of presence, noticing the significance of the absence of information. Batten notices that the author of Timothy does not dwell upon the matter of women's adornment throughout the chapter or the text, suggesting that it may not have been a huge concern. So in reading between the lines, so to speak, um, Batten sort of argues that maybe wealthy women were acquiring too much leadership power, and adornment was sort of, this argument about adornment was kind of a straw man argument that was meant to be a way for the community to limit their leadership and their power. So moving on to Peter, We can argue, or Ben argues, that a wife's simple appearance and modest behavior, or so-called pure behavior, functioned as an asset within a Christian community, garnering respect and honor for her husband, or going further, even functioning as qualities that attracted potential husbands to her, and thus perhaps to the religion. Again, increasing their numbers and increasing their respectability, their respect within the greater Greco-Roman society. Moving to Benton's conclusion of this article, she points out that the fact that so many of these writings call out women's dress and comportment indicates that it was a subject the writers of such texts considered concerning enough to address, suggesting that women may, at that time, may have been resistant to the idea of giving up their jewelry and other accessories, which I can't blame them for. And she ends by emphasizing the importance of exploring the gamut of contextual possibilities within Timothy and Peter when trying to pinpoint their exact meaning and purpose. And that is the end of this assignment. Thank you very much.